The market was loud, full of shouts, strange smells, and bright alien lights. The human walked slowly through the crowd, his head low, his pockets empty. He had been struggling for weeks, taking small jobs, eating little food, and trying to find meaning in a world that was not his own. He had seen many strange things in alien markets before, but this time something pulled his eyes. In the center of the bazaar, near a pillar made of black stone, stood a figure. She was tied with rough ropes, her arms pulled back, her knees weak. Her skin was pale with a faint silver glow, her hair messy and her eyes half closed as if she had not slept for days. Above her head hung a wooden sign written in 3 languages. The human read the words in the common tongue and froze. "Take, as you please." The crowd around her walked past. Some aliens laughed, some ignored her, and a few even threw small stones, but no one helped. She was like a broken thing placed for display, a cruel reminder of punishment. The human stopped walking. His heart beat faster. He was used to seeing injustice, but this was different. The girl looked young, maybe no more than 18 in human years. Her face carried pain, but also a quiet strength. She did not cry. She did not beg. She only stood, tied, waiting. He turned to an alien merchant nearby and asked, "What is this? Why is she tied like that?" The merchant, with 4 eyes and sharp teeth, laughed. "She is being punished, human. Her people tied her there for her sins. Anyone may take her. Anyone may use her. It is the law of her kind." The human's stomach twisted. "What sin?" he asked. The merchant shrugged. "Does it matter? She is marked. She is guilty, that is all." The human looked again at the girl. She raised her eyes slowly, and for a second their gazes met. Her eyes were deep violet, glowing faintly under the market lights. In that brief look, he saw something. Fear, mixed with a silent plea. It was not the look of someone truly guilty. It was the look of someone abandoned. The human tried to walk away. His mind told him, "Not your problem, not your fight," but his legs refused. He remembered times when he himself had been pushed aside, ignored, and treated like nothing. The memory of his own suffering pulled him back toward her. The crowd grew louder. Children pointed at the girl. Vendors shouted prices for their goods, no one caring that a living being stood bound for shame. He stepped closer to the pillar, ignoring the stares. The smell around her was heavy with dust and sweat. Her lips were dry, her breathing shallow. She whispered something so soft he almost did not hear it. "Help." The word was weak, broken, but real. The human froze. His hands clenched. The merchant behind him laughed again. "Do not waste your time, human. She is not worth saving. She is only a body, nothing more." The human turned his head sharply. His eyes burned with anger, but he stayed silent. He looked back at the girl. Her wrists were bleeding where the ropes cut her skin. Her knees trembled, yet she still stood proud. For a long moment, he stood in silence. His mind raced. Why her? Why now? Why am I standing here when I could walk away? But deep inside, he already knew the answer. Humans could not always fight wars, could not always win battles, but they could choose not to look away. He stepped even closer, his voice low. "I do not know what you did. I do not know if you are guilty or innocent, but I know this is wrong." Her eyes widened just slightly. A spark of life returned. The crowd began to murmur. Some aliens sneered, some grew curious, and a few whispered warnings. The human's heart pounded harder. He felt as if he had stepped into something bigger than himself. He could almost sense danger watching from the shadows. Something about this punishment was not as simple as it looked. Still, he did not move back. He stood before the pillar, watching the girl, and for the first time in many days she looked at someone with hope. The market roared around them, but for the human, all sound faded. Only the girl, the ropes, and the cruel sign remained clear in his vision. And in that moment, he realized his life was about to change forever. The human stood still, staring at the girl tied to the pillar. His chest felt heavy. His hands itched to cut those ropes. But he knew if he acted too fast, the whole market would turn against him. The merchant, with 4 eyes, leaned forward, his grin wide. You are curious, human? Then make an offer. She is worthless to us, but if you want her, maybe you can pay a few coins. The human frowned. You sell her? Even while calling it punishment? The merchant laughed, a deep sound like broken glass. Punishment and profit are not so different. We punish her by stripping her worth. We profit if some fool takes her away. Either way, she suffers, that is the point. The words burned in the human's ears. He looked again at the girl, her head lowered, her body trembling, but her eyes still shone faintly with violet light. It was not the light of guilt. It was something else, something hidden, he asked quietly. What crime did she commit? The merchant shrugged, his 4 shoulders rising and falling. She defied her people. They say she broke sacred rules. Maybe she refused a command. Maybe she spoke against an elder. Who knows? Who cares? The sign tells the story. She is guilty, that is all. The human clenched his fists. That is not a story, he thought. That is cruelty. The merchant's grin widened. But if you like human, you can own her. You can take her away. The sign gives permission, but you must pay me. After all, nothing in this market is free. The human felt anger rise, but he forced himself to stay calm. He pulled the few coins he had from his pocket. It was barely enough to buy a small meal. He held them in his hand, looked at the shiny alien tokens, and felt shame. He whispered, "This is all I have." The merchant laughed again. Pathetic. You think she is worth even that much? She is trash, but maybe I will let you try. Show me your coins, human. Let me taste your desperation. The human stepped closer, his jaw tight. Before he could place the coins down, a soft sound reached him. The girl had lifted her head. Her lips moved. Her voice, weak but clear. Don't pay, she whispered. Her violet eyes locked with his. They want to bind you too. If you buy me, you are marked as guilty with me. The human froze. His heart skipped. Was she warning him? Or was it a trick? The merchant snapped, "Quiet, cursed girl, you have no right to speak." He raised his claw to strike her, but the human moved fast. His hand shot out and caught the merchant's wrist. His eyes blazed with fury. For a moment, silence fell in the crowd. The merchant hissed, "Bold human, do you want to fight the market? Do you want to bleed in front of these eyes?" The human released his grip, but his voice was steady. "No one deserves chains for defiance." The merchant sneered. "Then take her and leave, but remember this. Her curse will follow you. Her punishment is not just hers. It will cling to anyone foolish enough to stand beside her." The human looked once more at the girl. She stared back at him, not begging, not weeping, only waiting. Her strength shocked him. Even broken, she still carried herself like someone who had not given up. He turned back to the merchant. "If I take her, I owe you nothing. Your own laws say she is free for anyone to claim." The merchant's grin faded, his eyes narrowed. "You know, too much for a poor human. Perhaps you are more dangerous than I thought." The crowd began to murmur. Some aliens whispered in fear, some laughed, and some shouted for him to make a choice. The air was thick with tension. The human stepped closer to the pillar. He reached out slowly. His hand brushed the rough rope. The girl flinched but did not pull away. His voice was calm, steady. "I will not buy you, I will not own you, but I will not leave you here either." The merchant spat. "Fool, do you not hear? If you cut those ropes, you declare yourself enemy of her people. Their guards will hunt you, their council will curse you. You will be marked like her." The human's lips pressed into a thin line. His chest rose and fell. Inside his mind, a storm raged. Walk away and live, or stay and fall. But when he looked again into the girl's violet eyes, the choice became clear. He whispered almost to himself, "Better to fall with honor than walk away in shame." The crowd gasped. The merchant snarled. But the human pulled a small knife. From his belt, his hand trembled, not from fear but from the weight of the moment. He raised the blade toward the rope. The girl's lips parted, her voice soft. "Why, help me." The human looked into her eyes. Because someone must. The knife pressed against the rope. The crowd's murmur grew into a roar. Guards began to push through the people, their weapons shining. The human felt time grow heavy. His heart beat like a drum. He knew this act would change his life forever, but he did not stop. The rope strained under the blade, fibers snapping one by one. The girl's breath caught in her chest. The merchant shouted, "You fool! You doom yourself!" And then, with a sharp sound, the rope split. The girl's arms dropped free. Her body nearly collapsed. But the human caught her, holding her weight against his chest. The crowd screamed. The guards shouted, and chaos exploded through the market. The idle human looked up, sweat dripping from his brow. The girl's eyes, weak but alive, met his again. In that moment he knew. There was no turning back. The human's knife had cut the rope, and the girl now leaned against him, weak but breathing. The crowd around them exploded in noise. Shouts, curses, and cries filled the air. Some aliens pointed. Others ran to call the guards. The human knew. They had little time. He pulled her close and whispered, "Can you walk?" Her voice came soft, almost broken. Barely. He tightened his grip on her wrist and forced a path through the crowd. People pushed back, some tried to grab him, but his stubborn strength carried them forward. The girl stumbled beside him, her legs shaking, but she did not let go. Behind them, the guards shouted orders. Their heavy steps grew louder, weapons clashed, the market became a storm. The human's heart pounded, but his focus stayed sharp. He turned into a narrow side alley, pulling the girl into shadow. For a moment, they were hidden from the chaos. She collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. Sweat glistened on her silver-tinged skin. Her violet eyes flickered with faint light. She looked up at him, her lips trembling. Why would you do this? You don't even know me." He crouched in front of her, his voice steady but low. "I don't need to know you to see what's wrong. No one deserves that pillar. No one deserves that sign." Her eyes closed for a moment. A tear rolled down her cheek. She whispered, "I didn't steal. I didn't kill. They lied." The human leaned closer. "Then tell me, what happened?" She opened her eyes again, her gaze sharp despite her weakness. "If I tell you, you will be hunted too." He gave a short laugh, though his chest still ached from running. "I already am." For the first time, her lips curved slightly, a fragile, broken smile, but then it faded. Her voice shook. "They called me defiant. They called me cursed. But all I did was speak against them, against the elders, against the ones who profit from pain." The human studied her, his mind burned with questions, but before he could speak, the sound of boots echoed down the alley. The guards were closing in. He grabbed her hand. "We can't stay here. Can you run just a little more?" She swallowed, then nodded weakly. Together, they slipped through another narrow passage, twisting through old stone walls until they reached the edge of the market. The air outside was cooler, but danger still hung heavy. They stopped near a broken fountain. The girl fell to her knees, shaking. Her voice was faint but urgent. "Listen to me, human. You must leave me. They will hunt me forever. If you stay, they will destroy you too." The human shook his head. "I didn't cut those ropes just to walk away. If you want me gone, you'll have to push me yourself." Her eyes widened at his words. She bit her lip and stared at him. Then, in a voice so soft it was almost silence, she whispered, "Please, don't let me go back. I would rather die free than return." The human felt the weight of her plea. It was not loud, not dramatic, but it struck his heart harder than any scream. This was not just fear. It was the desperate cry of someone who had been betrayed by her own people. He lowered himself beside her, his voice calm. "Then we find another way, together." Her hands shook as she reached toward him, gripping his arm. Why? Why would a stranger risk this? He looked at her tired face and answered simply, "Because once I needed someone and no one came. I won't let that happen to you." For a long moment she said nothing. Her violet eyes shimmered in the dim light. And then she nodded, as if some wall inside her had broken. But before they could speak again, the sound of horns echoed through the streets. The guards were calling reinforcements. The human's jaw tightened. They had to move fast. He pulled her to her feet once more. Her body trembled, but she leaned against him. Her whisper reached him again. "If you really mean to help me, then I must tell you something, a secret. The punishment was never only for me, it was a warning, a message to all who resist." The human frowned. "Resist what?" Her voice dropped lower. "Resist the council. Resist their lies. I spoke the truth. I told them their laws were chains, and so they tied me to that pillar, to show others what happens when you speak." The human's chest tightened. He thought of his own people, how humans had fought for freedom, for dignity, and how often voices had been silenced. Now he saw the same story in her eyes. He whispered, "Then they chose the wrong person to silence, because now I know too." The girl's breath caught. Her gaze softened. She leaned her head against his shoulder. "Then we are both marked." The human gave a small smile. "Then let's make that mark mean something." The sound of footsteps grew closer. The guards were spreading through the district, torches in hand. Their shadows danced across the walls. The girl squeezed his arm weakly. "If they catch me again, don't let them take me alive." The human froze at her words. He turned to look at her, his eyes burning with quiet fire. "I won't let them take you at all." And with that, he pulled her deeper into the night, away from the fountain, away from the horns. The chase had only begun, but as they disappeared into the maze of streets, the human knew one truth. He had not just freed a stranger. He had stepped into a fight far greater than himself, and somewhere in her silent plea he had already made his choice. The night was restless. The narrow streets carried echoes of boots and the sharp clang of weapons. The human pulled the alien girl along, her weak steps dragging. Her breaths came quick and shallow. But she did not ask him to stop. She knew stopping meant capture. Behind them, the guards shouted orders. Their torches lit the sky with orange fire. The human's mind raced. He had escaped battles before, but never with someone so fragile depending on him. He whispered, "Stay low, stay close." The girl nodded, her violet eyes dim in the shadows. Her body leaned against him, but she forced herself forward. They turned into another alley, but suddenly, the glow of torches blocked the far end. Guards marched toward them, armor clanking. The human's heart pounded. He turned the other way, more guards. The trap was closing. The girl gasped, "We are surrounded." The human scanned quickly. His eyes caught a broken staircase leading upward toward the roofs. Without thinking, he grabbed her waist and pulled her along. They stumbled up the cracked steps as the guards shouted below. The rooftop was wide, covered in dust and broken tiles. The human helped her climb, then crouched low. The guards' torches glowed like fireflies below, searching. The girl whispered, "Why do you keep risking yourself?" He didn't answer at first. His eyes stayed on the moving lights. Finally, he said softly, "Because once you cut a rope, you can't tie it back. I set you free. Now I must see it through." She stared at him with a mix of fear and awe. For a moment, silence hung between them, only broken by shouts in the distance. Then a guard spotted movement above. A loud horn echoed. Torches lifted toward the sky. "They see us," the girl whispered. The human cursed under his breath. He pulled her up and ran across the roof. The tiles cracked beneath their feet. The girl stumbled, nearly falling, but he caught her arm each time, his strength dragging her onward. Arrows whistled past them, one striking the roof and breaking stone. The girl screamed softly, clutching her chest, but the human pulled her down behind a chimney. He whispered, "We can't outrun them forever. We need to outsmart them." She nodded, though her eyes shone with fear, her voice faint. "They know these streets better than we do." The human smiled grimly. "But they don't know humans." He peeked over the chimney, counted the guards' movements. Then he spotted it, a narrow bridge between two roofs, weak but usable. He pointed. That way. They dashed again, the guards shouting louder. Arrows rained. One cut the edge of his coat. Another shattered a tile near the girl's foot. She stumbled and cried out, but he lifted her into his arms, carrying her across the shaking bridge. The bridge groaned under their weight, Cracks spread through the old stone. Below was a 20-foot drop into dark alleys. The girl clung to him, her face buried against his chest. He whispered, "Don't look down." The bridge cracked louder. A piece broke off, falling into the dark. The human's legs pushed harder. His lungs burned, but he made it across, landing on the next roof just as the bridge collapsed behind them. The guards cursed on the far side. Their chase slowed. The girl lifted her head, trembling. "You risked death for me again." The human placed her down gently. "I'll do it as many times as it takes." Her lips parted, but before she could speak, a sharp sound echoed. A horn from closer this time. More guards were ahead, climbing. Onto the roof, the human gritted his teeth, his eyes darted around, then he saw another chance, an old cart sitting below in the alley, piled with straw. He looked at her. "Do you trust me?" She hesitated, then whispered, "I don't have a choice, do I?" He smiled faintly. "No, but trust anyway." He grabbed her hand, ran to the edge of the roof, and without warning, leapt. The girl screamed as they fell. The world spun. Windy, rushed. The human held her tight. His back hit the straw with a heavy crash, pain shot through his body. But they were alive. The girl rolled off him, coughing, her eyes wide with shock. "You are insane," he groaned, pushing himself up. "Maybe, but we are still breathing." Above them, guards shouted, trying to find a way down. The human grabbed her hand again. "We need to disappear before they corner us again." They darted into the dark alleys, slipping through old doors, broken walls, and narrow paths. Finally, after what felt like hours, they stopped inside a ruined warehouse. The girl collapsed against a wooden beam, gasping. Her violet eyes shone faintly in the darkness. "You could have left me. You could have saved yourself." The human knelt beside her, his voice steady. "I didn't come this far to turn back. Your plea is not just yours anymore, it's mine too now." Her lips trembled. A tear slid down her cheek. She whispered, "I don't know your name." He gave a small smile. "Names don't matter right now, survival does." But inside, he knew something else. This escape attempt was only the beginning. The girl carried secrets deeper than he imagined, and by freeing her, he had tied himself to her fate. Outside, the horn still echoed, the hunt had not ended, and in the human's chest, a fire burned brighter. He had no idea where this road would lead, but one truth was clear: he would never let her return to that pillar, no matter the cost. The ruined warehouse was silent except for the girl's heavy breathing. Dust floated in the air, moonlight cut through the broken roof. The human stood near the door, listening for the sound of guards. Every distant shout made his hand tighten on the small knife at his belt. The girl sat against a wooden beam, her knees pulled close, her wrists still red from the ropes, her silver-tinted skin glowed faintly under the pale light. She looked fragile, but her violet eyes carried a weight far older than her years. Finally, the human spoke. "They won't give up. I need to know the truth. Why did they punish you like that? What crime did you commit?" She looked down, silent for a long moment. Then her voice came soft. "Do you really want to know? If I tell you, you will never be safe again." He gave a faint smile. "I wasn't safe the moment I cut those ropes." Her eyes lifted to him, searching his face. She saw no fear there, only stubborn resolve. She sighed, her voice trembling. "Then listen, and judge me yourself." She closed her eyes and began. "My people live under a council of elders. They claim to protect us. They claim their rules keep balance. But it is all a lie. They use fear. They use chains. They take what they want, and silence anyone who questions them." The human frowned. His chest tightened. He had heard such stories before on other worlds. Leaders who spoke of honor, but lived on the suffering of the weak. The girl continued, "I was born into one of their noble houses. My blood tied me to their power. But I saw what they did in secret. I saw them selling children into labor, starving villages, twisting our faith into control. I could not stay silent, so I spoke. I shouted in the square. I told the truth before my people." Her voice shook now, but anger burned beneath it. "They could not let my words spread, so they called me cursed. They said my blood carried a sickness. They tied me to that pillar so others would see and learn. This is what happens if you defy them. The human felt heat rise in his chest. His fist clenched, he whispered, "So you were punished not for a crime, but for courage." Her violet eyes met his, shining with unshed tears. Courage, or foolishness, it does not matter. The result is the same. I lost everything, my name, my house, my place among my people. I was left as nothing but a warning. For a moment, silence filled the warehouse. The human looked at her, and something deep inside him stirred. He had lived through hardship himself. He knew the pain of being cast aside, but this was more. This was a soul crushed for daring to hope. He moved closer, kneeling beside her. "Listen to me. They tried to strip you of worth, but worth cannot be taken. You still breathe, you still fight. That makes you more alive than all of them." Her lips parted in surprise. No one had spoken to her like that before. For so long she had only heard curses, only felt ropes, only tasted dust. Now someone said she still mattered. Her eyes softened. "You speak as if I still have a future, but what future can there be? They will chase me until I fall." The human gave a half smile. "Then let them chase. A hunted life is still life. And sometimes running long enough leads you to freedom." She stared at him, her heart pounding. Something inside her that had long been cold began to stir with warmth, but then her face darkened. "There is more you must know, my people's council. They fear something. That is why they silence voices. That is why they punished me. I uncovered a secret, one they will kill to protect." The human leaned forward. "What secret?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They are planning a purge, not just of rebels, but of entire clans. They say it is to cleanse weakness, but it is only to tighten their grip. I heard them speak of it. I shouted it aloud. That is why I was tied to that pillar." The human felt his stomach twist. He had expected cruelty, but not genocide. His voice grew firm. "Then the world must know. We can't let their purge happen." The girl shook her head quickly, fear flashing in her eyes. "No. To spread the truth is to invite death. Anyone who tries will be hunted. Their reach spreads far farther than you think." The human's eyes hardened. "And yet you spoke, even knowing the risk?" She looked away, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I thought I could make a difference. Instead, I was broken." He gently placed his hand on her shoulder. She flinched, then slowly relaxed, his voice calm. "You were not broken. You are here. That means you endured. That means your truth survived. And maybe now, with help, it will matter." Her eyes widened slightly, staring at him as if seeing him for the first time. She whispered, "You are not like others. You speak as if compassion is strength." He gave a small laugh. "For humans, it always has been." Before she could answer, a sound broke the silence. The crash of a door nearby, voices shouting, torches flickering outside. The girl's eyes filled with dread. "They found us." The human rose to his feet, knife ready, his voice calm but sharp. "Then we fight. And if we fall standing." The girl pulled herself up with trembling legs, her violet eyes glowing brighter now. "Then I will stand with you." The warehouse walls shook with the sound of boots. The hunt had reached them again. But now the girl carried more than fear. She carried truth, and the human knew the hidden truth had tied their fates together. There was no turning back. The warehouse trembled as the sound of boots grew louder. The human stood near the broken door, his knife tight in his hand. The alien girl clung to the beam for balance, her body weak but her eyes burning with violet light. The shouts outside grew clearer. "Surround the building! No one escapes!" Torches flickered through the cracks in the wall. The shadows of armored guards stretched across the floor. The girl's voice was low, almost trembling. "You should leave me. They only want me. If you run now, you can live." The human shook his head firmly. "No, they want you because you spoke the truth. If I leave you, then I stand with them, and I will never stand with chains." She stared at him, speechless. Her lips parted as if she wanted to argue, but no words came. The door shattered. A group of guards stormed inside, their armor glinting in the torchlight, blades drawn. Their leader pointed at the human. "Step away from the girl, human. This is not your fight." The human stepped forward instead, his voice steady. "It became my fight the moment I saw her tied to that pillar." The guards sneered. One spat. Then you are cursed too. The human didn't flinch. His knife gleamed under the moonlight, pouring from the roof. So be it. The first guard rushed forward. His heavy sword swung down. The human dodged sideways, his knife cutting quick across the guard's arm. Sparks flew as blade met blade. The guard roared in pain. Another lunged. The human kicked a broken crate into his legs, tripping him. He fought with speed, not strength. Every move sharp, every strike desperate. The girl watched with wide eyes, her breath caught with every clash. She wanted to help, but her body was too weak still, she whispered. Don't fall, please don't fall. The guards circled, their leader growled. This human is nothing. End him. But nothing did not fall. He ducked, he rolled, he struck. His body burned with exhaustion, yet he pushed harder. Each moment, he thought of her, of the rope around her wrists, of the sign above her head, of the silent plea in her eyes that gave him strength. A guard's blade slashed his shoulder. Pain shot through him, his teeth clenched, but he did not drop. He shoved the attacker back and swung his knife across his chest. The alien fell with a cry. The girl gasped. You're hurt! The human turned his head toward her, blood dripping from his sleeve. He gave a faint smile. I've been hurt before, this won't stop me. The guards hesitated now. Their leader snarled. Do you not see, human? You cannot win. Even if you cut us down, more will come. You fight a storm you cannot stop. The human's voice rose, clear and strong. Then let the storm know one thing. Humans don't bow to fear. The girl's eyes widened. His words struck something deep within her. For the first time since her punishment began, she felt a spark of hope. The leader roared and charged. His massive blade swung down like thunder. The human barely raised his knife in time. The clash rang like a bell. His knees buckled. The weight nearly crushed him. The girl screamed, No! In that moment, something changed inside her. Her body shook. Her violet eyes glowed brighter. She pushed herself forward, grabbing a broken beam from the ground. With trembling arms, she swung it at the guard's helmet. The wood cracked. The guard stumbled. The human seized the chance. His knife flashed, cutting across the leader's side. The guard roared in pain, falling back. The girl dropped the beam, panting, her arms weak but her spirit burning. I won't. Be silent again, she whispered. The guards looked at her, fear flickering in their eyes. They saw not just a weak prisoner anymore. They saw the voice they had tried to silence rising again beside a human who refused to yield. Their leader clutched his wound and shouted, Fall back, regroup outside. The guards pulled him away, their torches retreating. The warehouse grew quiet once more. Only the sound of the girl's heavy breaths and the human's ragged heartbeat remained. The human dropped to his knees, blood dripping from his shoulder. He looked at her, smiling weakly. You fought back? You're stronger than you think. She knelt beside him, her hands shaking as she tried to press on his wound. Tears filled her eyes. You are bleeding because of me. You could have died because of me. He touched her wrist gently. No, I lived because of you. You gave me reason to fight, and now you gave me reason to win. Her tears fell, but they were mixed with something new, something like pride. She whispered, Then, together, we will face them. The human nodded, his voice soft but firm. Together. Outside, the horns blew again. The guards were not gone, only waiting, preparing to strike once more, but inside that ruined warehouse, something stronger than fear was born, a bond of defiance, a vow to stand side by side no matter how dark the night became. The warehouse was heavy with silence. The human sat against a cracked wall, his shoulder bleeding. The alien girl pressed her hands against the wound, her violet eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Outside, the sound of horns echoed. The guards were gathering again. She whispered, They won't stop. They will burn this place to the ground, if they must. The human gave a faint smile, though pain twisted his face. Then we don't stay here. We make our stand somewhere else. Her lips trembled. You don't understand. They will hunt you across worlds. You will never be safe. Again, he looked at her, his eyes steady. I was never safe to begin with, but now, at least my life has meaning. Her heart clenched at his words. For so long she had felt like nothing. a cursed thing abandoned by her people. But here was a human, bleeding and broken, still choosing her. She whispered, "Why? Why risk everything for me?" He leaned forward, his voice low. "Because freedom is never free, someone must pay the price, and if not me, then who?" The girl's tears slid down her cheeks. She had begged for death before, begged to be forgotten. But now, with this human beside her, she found herself begging for life. The sound of boots thundered closer. The guards were returning in greater numbers. Their leader's voice roared outside. "Surround them! Burn the heretic and her human protector. Let the market watch their ashes." Fear flashed in her eyes, but the human stood, gripping his knife with bloody fingers, his stance steady. "We cannot fight them all head on, but we can choose how we fall." She rose to her feet beside him, her body trembling but her gaze strong. "Then let us fall together, not as slaves, but as free." The human turned to her, a faint smile breaking through. "Not fall? Not yet. We choose life first. We choose to run. We choose to keep fighting another day." For a moment, she stared at him, then nodded. Her voice broke into a whisper. "Together." The guards stormed. Through the broken doors, their torches lit the warehouse in firelight. Dozens of armored figures moved forward, blades drawn. The human raised his knife, ready. But then he spotted something, a broken wall at the back, leading to the open streets. It was narrow, dangerous, but it was a way out. He grabbed her hand. "Now, run." They dashed through the smoke and dust. The guards shouted and chased. Arrows flew past them. One cut across the human side, but he did not stop. He pushed her ahead, his voice sharp. "Don't look back." The girl's legs were weak, but her spirit burned. She ran harder than she ever had. Every step a choice, every breath a defiance. They burst through the broken wall, tumbling into the cold night air. Behind them, the warehouse roared with fire. As torches lit it ablaze, the guards followed, their horns screaming. The human pulled her into the maze of alleys. Their feet pounded against the stone, their hearts thundered. Every corner brought danger, but every corner also brought hope. Finally, they reached the edge of the city. Beyond lay open fields, wide and dark. Stars stretched across the sky. The human stopped, his chest burning with pain. The girl leaned against him, her breath shaking. She whispered, "If we leave these walls, we can never return. We will be exiles, hunted forever." He looked at her, his eyes fierce even through pain. Better hunted and free than chained and silent. Her violet eyes shone, her voice soft. "Then exile it is." Behind them, the horns grew louder. The guards poured from the city gates, their torches glowed like fire rivers in the night. The human tightened his grip on her hand. "This is our choice, not theirs." Together they ran into the fields, leaving the burning city behind. The night swallowed them, but not in defeat, only in freedom. The girl stumbled but did not fall. Her voice whispered through the wind. "Thank you. For hearing me, for seeing me, for not leaving me." The human looked at her. "Thank you for standing even when the world tried to break you." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Then we will keep standing together." The horns grew, distant as they disappeared into the night. Their pursuers slower, their torches fading. At last, under the starlit sky, the human and the alien girl stopped, breathing hard, their bodies broken, but their spirits burning brighter than ever. The girl looked at him, her voice quiet but strong. "I was tied to a pillar so they could silence me, but tonight, you gave me back my voice. You gave me back my freedom." The human looked out at the endless horizon, his jaw tight. "Then let's use it. Let's make them fear the voices they tried to crush." She stepped closer, her hand slipping into his, her violet eyes glowing like fireflies. "Together we are no longer weak. Together we are dangerous." The human smiled faintly, his heart steady. "And together, we are free." The wind carried their words into the night, far beyond the city walls, and though their journey was only beginning, the choice they had made would echo for years to come. The choice of freedom,